Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel. In this live stream, I'd like to talk about cronyism, in this case business cronyism or cronyism in the workplace, and have a look at the effects of cronyism on reducing the amount of wealth that any society can create. Now in third world basket case countries, of which there are many in the world, cronyism is how it's done. It sort of occurs in two ways. One is there's a small ruling elite that believes that the peasants aren't even the shit on their shoes, and so they're entitled to all the gravy at the very apex. The other one is where an economy is in decline and the amount of well-paying jobs are falling at quite a fast or quick rate or quick pace, and it's deemed that those well-paying jobs must really be just controlled by the diminishing elite and only given out to friends, relatives, supporters, mistresses and so on. So those are the two sort of cronyism. Now I've noticed there's been a very major uptick in cronyism, again amongst the better paid jobs typically, but generally as well. There's been a real uptick in cronyism in the West. Now, when which isn't this long ago, but when I first started working, I was always noticing that nobody around me, nobody knew anybody. There was no cronyism. At the very apex, the board of directors of the big company, they were all buddies up each other's ass and everything. But the middle management, even upper middle management, certainly technical specialists, engineers, that sort of thing. All these people, no one knew anybody, and everybody had to form associations that were the most optimal to achieving some sort of productive or worthwhile commercial outcome. And this was very important when you have to collaborate to achieve an objective with people you don't know. You have to assume the best of them. You can't assume that they're all rotten, no good so-and-sos. And so you have to go in there, and then you learn to share objectives. So the objective is to simplify it, the objective is to dig 100 holes 2 foot deep or something, whatever it is, and then you organise yourself around those objectives. And again, with people you don't know, so you have to rely and trust that people are going to do the right thing, and most of the time they do, by the way. So capability, ability to deliver what people say they can, people that aren't slackers and foot draggers and this sort of thing. So you can get a lot done when you're dealing and mixing with and organising yourself around people who you don't know. The opposite is the case when you are hiring people who you do know, and maybe you went to, junior school with them, or primary school, or you all know each other through college or whatever, but you've already got very settled personal relationships with these people. It's not much about them you don't know. You've all got drunk together and thrown up in the gutter together, and so on and so forth. That type of thing. You all know each other. So when you get together, you're not focusing on objectives and being productive and digging those 100 holes that are 3 foot deep and so on. You're really looking at how to organise your social hierarchy. Now that takes a lot of energy away from actually doing the job and pours a lot of energy into maintaining the social hierarchy that you've already formed. Now, what I'm seeing today is when I go into meetings and so on, particularly in the larger companies, but not only them, the situation is that everyone in the room already knows each other. Now, they may not know each other from working at McDonald's or something like that, but the women in particular know each other from working in NGOs or volunteering for NGOs work, or they know each other because they went on all the street marches and those sorts of things about climate change and that sort of. So they're there, and the other people know each other from either previous employment or so on. But there's a big emphasis on hiring people and selecting people who you already know personally and socially. Now you may, similarly within that, there's not a focus on what these people can do. Are they efficient? Are they effective? Do they work hard? Are they disruptive? Or there's none of that. There's are they tardy or something? So they're not looking really at any of those things. It's now very much shared ideological values. So we all here believe in climate change, and we believe that Trump is bad. We all believe that there should be transgender bathrooms on every floor. So they're very, very ideologically focused, but barely give a second's thought to the work. In fact, when you sort of have meetings with them about work, and so it's almost as if it's an afterthought, that it's something that they have to try and fit in their day's routine. They have to try and fit work in, or productive work into them stressing over climate change and how many black lesbians are in the middle management and those sorts of things. So the focus on, and they think they're being high-powered, kick-ass revolutionaries, by the way, by thinking these things. Wow, we're against the system, and they see themselves as heroes and heroines, and they're very childlike and almost just really juvenile and irresponsible in this view. But when it comes to work and getting the job done, it's outcome the checklists, and that's all they sort of seem to think about. And this is very concerning, because there's been a very substantial drop in expertise and ability and capacity, but also attitude. The outcomes are things that other people can care about and worry about. They don't have to. They don't want to have to work hard to do well, to minimise wastage or maximise returns or any of those sort of things. That's not their concern. And to be sure, most of them are working in situations where there's they've got a lot of cartel pricing power, monopoly, oligopolies, government contracts, that sort of thing. So there's a fair bit of that going on. But the idea that they have to be effective at their job and know what they're doing is something that they think is if anybody would mention it, must be a bit strange or a bit odd. You must be some crazy straight white guy from the days when people had to work hard or something. So that's the view that they seem to have, and it's cronyism plays a very big part of that, and just sort of looking at, say, the offices of some politicians, particularly in state and regional governments or town and city type governments. Any full-time job that appears, or any decent job, anything that has any prestige or is well paid, is treated as a political piece of patronage. They will hold that job and look at who can we give this to. It has to be a friend, a relative, a supporter, an ideological fellow traveller. The idea of giving it to the best qualified person is laughable. In fact, if you even say it in the room, so shouldn't the best qualified person get this? You'll almost be laughed out of the room. It's considered to be that unusual and strange, and to even say that much, to even suggest it, means that you're completely deluded and maybe in need of psychiatric care. So this is where cronyism is leading us, and it's expanding pretty fast. Now, as the cost of living increases much faster than wages, there's a lot of pressure on the remaining well-paying prestigious jobs. There's just fewer of them to go around. And so they're wanting to be controlled and monopolised by an ever smaller group of people that want to use these jobs as patronage. So they'll happily go out and hire somebody to be the HR manager or the diversity officer or something like that, where the only credential is there's somebody's buddy and they've attended a lot of street marches about climate change, that sort of thing. They've actually got no meaningful credentials in anything. In fact, they're fucking useless, however way you look at it, but they're getting hired into these jobs, and that's part of the wider cronyistic thing that's going on at the West at the moment. But it's a stark change from not that many years ago, when the idea was you would employ the best qualified, the most motivated, the people who really wanted to do something worthwhile in a commercial sense, and work hard and put the hard yards into doing it. So the effect on the cost of cronyism on our economy and our society is already big, and it's going to get bigger. You've been with Tastus today, our Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.